The charade with Madame Tussauds, that was just a ploy, wasn't it? Because you already know who it is, don't you, Charlie Crippen? Oh dear me, I'm terribly sorry. The 7th generation Volkswagen Golf. It's one of Britain's best-selling cars. Is it any good? Is there any reason why it's been going for 45 years? Should you care? Why? Well, let's find out. Volkswagen. Los!
It's not as if we don't have to deal with our shortcomings. It's not as if we don't have to wipe away the tears. From time to time we wouldn't lie. Here we are, we'll never be the same, and on the screens of our lives flash words of good songs that we've not yet sung. And we're not worried about the future, and we're not guilty.
So, welcome once again to Surrey. Today we're in this beautiful 2019 Volkswagen Golf 1.5 TSI Evo SE Nav. My friend Tim has just got this car, and he's very kindly allowed us to film in it today. So thanks, Tim. The 7th generation Volkswagen Golf was launched in 2012, and it's one of Britain's best-selling cars. I think it was number 2 or 3 last year. There's such a range of engines and trim options, and so many options that it would take me a long time to talk about them. But we'll just go ahead and look at some of the main engines available now. This particular car has an engine that was introduced not very long ago. It's a 1.5 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine with 130 horsepower. It's known as the Bluemotion engine, and it seems really, really smooth. In fact, if there's one thing that you can say to sum up the experience of driving a Golf, it's smooth. It's very smooth and very, very easy to drive. Some of the Golfs lower down the range don't have independent rear suspension. This particular car does have it, and if you pay extra for it on something like the GTI, then you can actually get adaptive dampers like you would do in a much more expensive car. Although I wouldn't say particularly most people will even notice the difference. This car rides and handles so smoothly that you don't really need to pay extra for all that fancy adaptive damping. Some of the other engines available in the 7th generation Golf are a 1 litre 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine, similar to the Seat Toledo that I have, and the Skoda Fabia that I reviewed at the end of last year. That's available in the Golf in 95 and 110 horsepower guises, although, as I've said, that comes with the non-independent rear suspension. There's also a 150 horsepower version of this 1.5 TSI Evo engine that has cylinder deactivation, so if you're not driving too hard, the car will actually only run on 2 cylinders to save fuel, which is really impressive. There's also a 2-litre engine which is used in the Golf GTI and the Golf R, and that has loads of horsepower. The Golf GTI, it's over 200 horsepower, the Golf R, it's nearer 300. There's also some diesels, but of course we don't talk about them. Some of the engines that were previously in the car before the 2017 facelift were a 1.2 4-cylinder turbo with 95 and 105 horsepower, and a 150 horsepower 1.4 engine that was used in loads of different Volkswagen Group products, as all of these are. That's a perfectly good engine as well to go for. In terms of ride and handling, this car's with this independent suspension, very smooth, as I've said. The car grips very well. The steering feels a little bit light for my taste. I prefer to have sharper steering, but of course you can always get a GTI if that floats your boat. So in addition to the more conventional options that I've just mentioned, there's also a few kind of actually specialist Golf variants. There's the Golf GTE that uses that 1.4 TSI petrol engine in it, as well as a plug-in hybrid electric system, and that has, I think, around 200 horsepower, and you can go on the electric motor alone for 30 miles. There's also, as is fashionable these days, an entirely electric version of the Golf available called the e-Golf, which has no piston engine whatsoever, has just an electric motor, and that's quite expensive. It's over £30,000. But if you literally just drive in a city and you're not worried about having to go more than, say, 150 miles, then that might be a really good option. There's also the Golf GTD, which is a sporty diesel, but again, I can't tell you about that. So, various people have commented on my videos I don't talk too much about fuel economy. Well, this car's done 701 miles, so it's not really run in. But I'm getting mid-30s MPG in this particular journey. I'd imagine on a motorway you get closer to 40 or 50. Certainly with any of those 1 litre engines, or a 1.2, you get mid-40s, I think. Obviously, the Golf is not the most expensive car to run unless you go for the GTI, which, or if you're even richer, the Golf R. But if you've got one of those, I mean, you probably wouldn't be watching a video like this, would you? So the trims available in the standard Golfs are S, SE, and SE Nav. I'd avoid S spec. It's very basic. I'd step up instead to SE, which gives you things like automatic lights and wipers, front and rear parking sensors, and cruise control. This is an SE Nav with the optional digital dials. So it has this big touchscreen sat nav. It's got front and rear parking sensors. It's got a really nice reversing camera. It's got this lovely leather steering wheel, and this particular car has got a 7-speed automatic gearbox. If you go above that, then you're getting into things like the GTI, and that would really be for a separate review.
It's not as if we don't have to deal with our shortcomings. It's not as if we don't have to wipe away the tears. From time to time we wouldn't lie.
That was smooth, really smooth. Let's see if this Golf is as practical as it is smooth and sophisticated. The boot on the Golf is 380 litres, which, when this car was launched back in 2012, was quite large. But these days, as you can sort of see, especially with this adjustable boot floor in its raised position, isn't really that big. For example, the boot on my Seat Toledo is 550 litres, and that is a car that actually belongs in the class below. The boot does have some nice features though. We've got this 12-volt socket in here. It's got some hooks. If you pull the floor up, you can see we've got a space saver spare wheel in there, which is absolutely brilliant. Not many cars come with those these days. And as in most of these cars, you can fold the seats down and they lie completely flat. So if we just shut that and take a seat in the back, I'll show you what the features are in the rear. So this driver's seat is in my driving position. For reference, I'm 5'11", and if you just look here, you can see I've got lots of headroom, got lots of knee room, and it's very comfortable in here indeed. There's a rear armrest, which actually has a ski hatch, useful for those winter sports. Not that I indulge in any of those, you understand. And there's also these rather nice ISOFIX covers, although, as you can see, they come off. What's going to happen when you've taken those off? You're going to lose them! Ah! So if we fold down this rear seat, very easy process. You can see that if I were to move this head restraint, that would sit nice and flush. Unfortunately, in this particular model, there are no rear USB ports, which I've got in my car, but this is quite a sort of low-level Golf. There's much more expensive ones than this. I'm sure you could have that. What you do get, though, is this lovely felt lining for the rear tool pockets, which feels beautiful. And this isn't quite complemented though by these horrible hard door tops which don't match what's in the front. I don't know why they've done this, just to save it, you know, a few pounds. Volkswagen, please keep the interior quality in your cars consistent. Enough of my complaints about the back though. Let's go and take a seat in the best place in the house, the front cabin. So if I sit down in here, I must say, this is one ergonomically perfect car. You can adjust the seat, you can adjust the steering wheel for reach and rake. The seats themselves are really comfortable. Everything's really nicely laid out. It's an absolute model of Teutonic precision. All the switches for the mirrors and the windows are exactly where you expect to find them. The steering wheel has this really nice lever on it, and it's got this flat bottom which reminds me of the older Golf GTIs. The controls on the steering wheel feel really, really high quality. And there's this nice soft touch plastic on top of the dashboard and on top of the doors, and you even get the felt lining in the door pockets again. The particular specification that Tim's Golf is called the 1.5 Evo TSI SE Nav. Now that sounds like a complete mouthful, but what it means is you get this beautiful, large, central touchscreen with satellite navigation as standard. It's the latest Volkswagen system. This particular car also has, if I just turn it on quickly and you'll see, it has the virtual cockpit type display here. You don't get this on all cars. This was an optional extra. It's really nice, but I think it's a little bit too extravagant for most people. Speaking practically once again, the glove box is more than big enough for all those secret mission documents. The air conditioning controls, this car doesn't have climate control, are really simple to use. Everything's exactly where you want it to be, and the quality of it feels really, really nice. This car's got automatic wipers and automatic lights, and the switches feel really nice. It's just absolutely standard Volkswagen. I mean that in the nicest possible way. So, what do I think of this 7th generation Volkswagen Golf? Is it deservedly one of Britain's best-selling cars? Well, it's not quite as good as some people tell you it is, and it is quite expensive. But overall, it does deserve its reputation, and I can see why so many people like it. Oh dear me, I'm so sorry, excuse me. I tell the polizia once or twice, I'm on my way home, I am tired, I am hungry. I want to see my bambino and my wife. Thank you for watching this episode of Tweed Jacket Reviews. We really hope you enjoyed it. My name's Joseph Lloyd, I'm an independent vehicle consultant. If you wish me to source a car for you, then please visit my website, which is www.lloydvehicleconsulting.co.uk. I also have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Lloyd Vehicle Consulting. Thank you.